Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and I'm here with another episode for my Simplicity series that I've been doing. And I like to say it gets us back to the basics. All we need to make cards or scrapbook or anything are paper, scissors, sentiments, adhesive, and let's not forget your imagination, right? Right. So these are the items that we're going to use. I chose this paper pad I found in my stash called Welcome Spring, and it's by American Crafts. Now, I do not know if this is still available, and if it is, I will make sure that I'll link to it down below. We may use some ink, I may use a sentiment, but I do try to avoid that. And if I do, this is one of the sentiments that I use. It covers everything. There are some great patterns in this paper pad, and what I like is it does range from large to small patterns. It also has some focal points. Now, there's not many pages in this paper pad that has a sentiment already set. However, there is one, and we will use that. So these are the papers that I chose. Now, one of the great things that I really enjoy doing with my pattern paper is creating mats. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pattern paper for this one, and that's going to be my base. So I've cut that to 4 inches by 5¼ inches. This piece here is going to be cut to 1¼ by 4 inches. So 1¼ by 4. For this piece here, I'm cutting that 2 inches by 2 inches. So it's going to be a 2-inch square. And then for our last piece, that is going to be cut, 3 inches by 2 inches. Now, when it comes to the mats, all right, what I like to do, especially if I'm using some pattern papers, I like to make the mats 1/4 inch bigger. So if I have a 2-inch by 2-inch square, I'm going to cut that square 2¼ by 2¼ This way I get a border, a mat going around, but it's not a large border. I just like a hint of a border. Now, you could also go 2 1/8 by 2 1/8, and then you would have just this really nice slither of that color. And you can see here, because that yellow piece, while this is cut 4 by 5¼ that piece is cut 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So it's a little smaller than what the other borders are going to be. So the border for my 1¼ by 4 inches is going to be 1½ by 4¼ My next piece up, since that was cut 3 inches by 2, that's going to be 3¼ by 2¼ And here I'm just checking to make sure of my piece, because I'm always forgetting what I cut things at. So again, I'm just trimming those pieces to make sure that I have that. So it's almost like I'm going to have that base, and we're going to create some puzzle pieces on top just to give it some dimension. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, and you can see here, I'm actually listing the sizes. There was somebody who had made a comment who had asked, when we have all of these cuts, they would love to be able to know what those pieces were cut to. So hopefully that did help you. Hopefully I'll try to remember that too. So here's my card base. It's a standard A2 size card base. That's 4¼ by 5½, and it is a top folding card base. The liquid adhesive that I really like to use, or that's my first choice, is my art glitter glue. So I'm just going to put glue on the back, and I'm going to adhere them down onto my mats. Now, what I do really like about liquid adhesive is you have time to move it. You have time to wiggle, so to speak, in case you're not directly on that mat straight. You do have some time. Now, with the art glitter glue, I will say it's pretty quick to grab it. I also do like the Nuvo Deluxe. There is a little bit more time with that to move your piece around. And you can see the difference in the borders. And again, we're just using pattern paper. I hoard it. I love it. I don't like to cut into it. It's very odd. Now, here you can use foam squares, which is something that I do choose to use, but you don't have to. You can just use your liquid adhesive and continue putting these pieces down. Now, what's also nice about layering your pattern paper is the cardstock that's solid that you can use does not have to be the higher end. It doesn't have to be 120 pounds. It can be, this paper here that I'm using is actually the Recollections, that large big bundle pack that you can get. I think there's like 100 sheets in it, and it's just got the rainbow colors going through it. I do always keep that on hand for when I do make layered cards just like this. When you have such thick cardstock, now again, we do use double-sided foam, tape and foam to add dimension, but sometimes when I'm adding this, you know, you're just adding and adding, and you're making your card thicker and thicker and thicker. So it's your choice what you would want to do. But you can see just with your pattern paper, your scissors. Now I did use a trimmer, but you can use scissors to cut these items out. You didn't have to, you know, just by freehand cutting sometimes is, again, it's the best thing. You never know what you're going to get. So you could just cut your shapes, put them on your solid piece, and then cut around it like you would fussy cutting. And then cut your frames that way. So here's where the sentiment's going to come in. I loved this piece of paper. It pulled in all of the colors that are sitting on the card right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this on an angle down between the flowers, below the word spring there. So I'm going to get this angle. So this kind of takes me forever to line this up, but I cut down, didn't cut into any of the words. And you can see I can also do this with my scissors, and I can just cut straight up there. So you don't need a trimmer. Having a long blade pair of scissors will work best. A short blade would not work best because you're constantly cutting. Where in a long blade you can get a one straight cut in one shot. I am going to put this down onto my cardstock here because I do want that to have a frame as well. So here I've cut this out. Now I'm just going to come in with my shears, and I'm just going to cut a little bit outside to create that mat for the sentiment as well. And the sentiment that's on this cardstock just says, "Hello, Spring." So you can see I have a mat there as well. Is it perfect? No. Do I care? Absolutely not. Let it go. And that's another reason why I like to show this series on Wednesday. Wednesday's kind of my Let It Go Wednesday, where it doesn't matter what we create, it's beautiful. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to look like everybody else. It shouldn't look like everybody else's because it's your work. So just let it go. You're creating beautiful cards or beautiful paper crafts. So always keep going with that. So I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Again, I will try to link the products that I used in this video down below. If you have any questions or comments, leave those down below as well, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Again, I thank you so much for stopping by, spending just a little bit of time with me today with my video. If you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe. Make sure you ring the bell so that you don't miss any more videos. I hope everyone's having a great day. But remember what's most important, always be creative.